The morning sun glinted off the neatly trimmed lawns of Oakwood Estates, a suburban neighborhood where every home seemed to reflect perfection. White fences lined each yard, flowers bloomed in carefully maintained beds, and the streets were quiet, save for the occasional distant laughter of children on bicycles. In one of these homes lived Monica Thompson, a woman known to some as quiet and unassuming, but in reality, she carried a presence that commanded respect. Monica was highly educated, savvy in real estate, and, most importantly, owned a significant portion of the neighborhood property. Despite her ownership, she rarely flaunted it, preferring to live peacefully among her neighbors, respecting community rules while maintaining her privacy. Across the neighborhood, Tom Richards, the HOA's self-appointed enforcer, patrolled the streets like a man on a mission, clad in his uniform, clipboard in hand. He prided himself on maintaining order, but his definition of order often bordered on petty enforcement and intimidation. He had a reputation for embarrassing residents over trivial matters, from lawn heights to paint colors, and he rarely hesitated to assert his authority publicly. This particular morning, Monica stepped outside into her private backyard garden, a space open to the neighborhood view, but entirely on property she legally owned. She enjoyed tending her roses and sipping coffee on the patio, unaware that her peace would soon be shattered. From across the street, Tom spotted her through the fence. His eyes narrowed as he observed what he considered rule-breaking behavior. To him, Monica's backyard seemed too elaborate, too public, too visible. Anything could be a violation in his rigid, self-important mind. He marched over, clipboard in hand, determined to assert control. "Ma'am," Tom barked as he approached, "you're in violation of HOA guidelines. You can't use this area the way you're using it. You need to leave immediately." Monica froze, her coffee cup hovering mid-air. "Excuse me," she asked, her calm tone masking her rising irritation. "This is my property. I can use it however I please." Tom waved the objection off. "I don't care who you are. The rules apply to everyone. Step aside now." Monica's neighbors began peeking from windows, sensing the tension but unsure how to react. She felt a surge of indignation. How dare someone publicly humiliate her on her own property? Tom, however, was oblivious. He saw a woman alone in a backyard and assumed he held the power. Monica took a measured breath, her mind already calculating the next steps. She could have confronted him angrily, but she knew that patience, poise, and the leverage of truth would speak louder than shouting. Her eyes flicked toward the wall of her home, where a framed sheriff's badge hung prominently, a subtle yet powerful symbol of authority and justice she had earned through service to her community years ago. This was more than just a backyard confrontation. It was the stage for a dramatic clash between arrogance and rightful authority. And Monica was about to teach a very important lesson about underestimating the wrong person. She smiled faintly, sipping her coffee again. "You really don't know who you're dealing with, do you?" Tom didn't. And he was about to find out the hard way. Tom Richards, the self-appointed HOA enforcer, stepped fully into Monica's backyard, clipboard held high like a weapon of authority. His voice boomed across the garden. "You are in violation of multiple HOA regulations," he declared, This area is not for personal use in the way you're using it. Step away immediately, or I will issue fines and escalate this matter." Monica set her coffee cup down calmly and met his glare with steady eyes. "Excuse me," she said, her voice firm, yet composed. "This is my property. I do not need permission to enjoy my own backyard." Tom's eyebrows shot up, his arrogance unwavering. "Don't get smart with me. I enforce rules here. You will comply." Neighbors began to peek out of their windows, whispering among themselves. Some appeared sympathetic, but the presence of Tom in full authority intimidated most of them. Monica could feel the simmering tension in the air, the entire neighborhood now witnessing a public display of humiliation. Tom walked closer, jabbing the clipboard toward her. "I said, step aside. This is a violation. Do you even know what rules you're breaking?" Monica didn't flinch. Instead, she allowed herself a small, knowing smile. She had faced situations like this before and understood that confrontation would only escalate if handled rashly. "I know exactly what I'm doing," she replied quietly, yet every word carried weight. "And you, sir, have no authority over me on my own property." Tom's face reddened with frustration. He cleared his throat, trying to maintain composure, but the neighbors' murmurs grew louder. Whispers of disbelief and curiosity spread. Some began to question Tom's authority. "Your property? Don't be ridiculous," Tom scoffed. "I enforce the rules. You will comply." Monica remained calm. Her hand brushed over the edge of the coffee table, close to the wall where a framed sheriff's badge hung, an emblem of her experience and authority that Tom had not noticed. She realized the crowd was watching, some already sensing that something was about to shift. "You seem very confident," Monica said softly. "Confidence is admirable, but arrogance is dangerous. You might want to take a closer look at this house before making assumptions about who has power here." Tom's face tightened. He had no idea that Monica's words were not empty threats. They were backed by truth, authority, and legal power. Yet in that moment, Monica allowed him to believe he still had control. The humiliation he had tried to inflict was only beginning to rebound. The neighbors leaned out of their windows and doors, murmuring, whispering, and exchanging glances. Tom's attempt to dominate the situation was failing quietly, but he didn't yet realize it. Monica's composure, calm defiance, and subtle hints of authority created an invisible tension that made the entire scene electrifying. The stage was now set. Monica had endured public humiliation without losing her dignity, and the neighborhood had begun to sense that something monumental was about to happen. Monica stood silently in her backyard, her gaze fixed on Tom Richards, the HOA cop, whose chest puffed with misplaced confidence. The neighborhood watched from a distance, curious yet unsure of what would happen next. The tension was thick, almost tangible, like the air before a storm. Tom continued his rant, oblivious to the reality before him. "I've never had a resident defy me like this. You will comply with the rules," he barked, waving the clipboard with authority. "Do you understand?" Monica's hand rested lightly on the wall behind her, fingers brushing against the edge of the framed sheriff's badge. Few neighbors noticed it, but it represented years of service, authority, and respect she had earned in the community. It was more than decoration, it symbolized her legal power and credibility. Tom, arrogantly focused on her defiance, had not even seen it. She allowed herself a small, knowing smile. Her calm, measured demeanor only heightened Tom's frustration. Each passing second made the scene more intense. Neighbors whispered among themselves, sensing that Tom might have underestimated Monica, but none yet knew the full story. Monica took a slow step toward her house, her movements deliberate and "You seem very sure of yourself," she said softly, almost conversationally. "Confidence is good, but confidence without knowledge can be dangerous." Tom scowled, oblivious to the warning. "Enough with the talk. Step aside or face fines." Monica paused, letting the silence stretch. Every neighbor's attention was now fixed on her. Her eyes flicked toward the badge again, and she subtly adjusted her stance to draw attention to it. A few neighbors noticed for the first time the gleaming emblem framed on her wall, something official, authoritative, and unmistakably significant. "This badge," Monica said calmly, her voice carrying across the backyard, "represents my service, my authority, and my understanding of the law. You may think you have the power here, but there is more at play than your clipboard and your rules." Tom froze for a fraction of a second, sensing the weight behind her words, but still too arrogant to fully comprehend. His face tightened, a flicker of doubt crossing his expression, but he tried to maintain his dominance. The suspense grew with every passing second. Monica's poised calm, the subtle revelation of her authority, and the neighbors' growing curiosity created an almost cinematic tension. Everyone could sense that the situation was about to flip, but no one yet knew how dramatic the reversal would be. Monica's internal strategy was clear: patience, timing, and the undeniable power of truth. She let Tom continue to assert his authority, allowing his arrogance to peak, before she revealed the full extent of her ownership of the neighborhood. The stage was perfectly set for a confrontation that would shock everyone, including the overconfident HOA cop. In that charged moment, Monica knew that once she revealed her ownership, justice and humiliation would collide, and the neighborhood would witness a lesson in authority, respect, and truth they would never forget. Tom Richards, still brimming with misplaced confidence, waved his clipboard like a scepter of authority. "I'm telling you, you cannot." Monica raised a hand calmly, cutting him off. The backyard fell silent. Neighbors leaned from windows, doors, and fences, sensing the tension reaching its peak. "Do you really think this is just about a rule, Mr. Richards?" Monica asked, her voice steady and commanding. She gestured to her house, then slowly toward the framed sheriff's badge on the wall, glinting in the sunlight. "You're here humiliating me, publicly asserting authority you don't have, and yet you've failed to see the truth all along." Tom blinked, confused. "What truth?" Monica took a deliberate step forward. "The truth is simple. I own this neighborhood. Every property, every common area, every facility you patrol, this is mine." The words struck the crowd like lightning. A murmur ran through the neighbors. Some gasped audibly, others whispered excitedly, their curiosity turning into astonishment. Tom's confident expression faltered. You can't be serious." estammered. "Oh, I am serious," Monica said. Her tone was calm, but unyielding. She reached for a folder containing legal documents, deeds, and ownership certificates, and held them up for everyone to see. "These prove it. I am the rightful owner of every square foot of this community. You have no authority here over me or on your nails without my consent." The realization hit Tom like a ton of bricks. The smug authority he had flaunted moments ago evaporated, replaced by shock, embarrassment, and helplessness. He looked around at the neighbors, suddenly aware that everyone had witnessed his humiliation. You're the owner," he whispered, voice cracking. "Yes," Monica replied evenly, "and your threats, your attempts to assert control, your public humiliation, they end." Now, the neighbors erupted, some applauding, others shaking their heads in disbelief at the turn of events. Tom shuffled backward, awkwardly clutching his clipboard, realizing he had been outmaneuvered completely. Monica's calm authority radiated through the crowd. Every step, every gesture, every word underscored her dominance, not through aggression, but through truth, preparation, and the undeniable weight of law and ownership. For the first time, Tom understood that his arrogance had blinded him. The woman he had tried to intimidate, the one he had humiliated publicly, held power far beyond his comprehension. He had been bested without a fight simply by her knowledge, patience, and rightful authority. Monica allowed a small, satisfied smile as she looked around the yard. The moment had been tense, dramatic, and utterly transformative. She had turned the tables, reclaimed dignity, and taught a lesson in humility that Tom and the entire neighborhood would never forget. The backyard was electric with tension. Neighbors crowded along fences, peering from windows, their eyes wide with astonishment. Tom Richards, the overconfident HOA cop, stood frozen, his clipboard dangling helplessly from his hand. For the first time, he felt the weight of true authority now. His own, but Monica's. Monica stepped forward calmly, her voice carrying over the stunned silence. "I have given you every opportunity to act respectfully. Instead, you chose humiliation and intimidation. That ends now." Some neighbors began whispering among themselves, their astonishment turning into admiration. "She owns the neighborhood," one murmured. "No wonder she stayed so calm." Tom stammered, trying to regain composure. I didn't know. You didn't know because you never bothered to see the full picture," Monica interrupted firmly. "You assumed authority without understanding the law, without respecting the people you serve. You acted arrogantly, and now you face the consequences." The crowd erupted in applause. Some neighbors cheered, others clapped politely, but firmly. Children who had been playing nearby stopped, sensing the moment's gravity. Even those who had remained silent before now looked on with respect, realizing the depth of Monica's composure and the fairness of her approach. Monica continued, calmly presenting her ownership documents, deeds, and legal certificates for anyone still in doubt. The papers gleamed in the sunlight, a visual testament to her authority. Tom swallowed hard, looking around at the faces of the neighbors who were no longer intimidated by his uniform or clipboard. His arrogance had crumbled completely. The HOA enforcer, once proud and commanding, now stood humbled, realizing the enormity of his mistake. Monica's victory was not just personal, it was public. She had defended her rights, reclaimed her dignity, and turned a humiliating situation into a lesson for the entire neighborhood. "You see," she said softly, addressing the crowd, "authority is not about uniforms, titles, or who yells the loudest. It's about respect, preparation, and knowledge. That is the true power." The neighbors nodded, some whispering their agreement, others openly applauding her words. Tom, pale and flustered, quietly stepped back, knowing the confrontation was over. Monica glanced around at the gathered crowd, her expression calm but triumphant. She had proven a point. Arrogance could be defeated without aggression. Humiliation could be met with grace, and the truth would always prevail. The moment became a defining story in the neighborhood. From that day forward, Monica's authority was respected universally. Tom Richards' lessons in humility were learned the hard way, and the community now had a living example of courage, intelligence, and justice in action. The backyard was quiet now, bathed in the warm glow of the late afternoon sun. Neighbors had dispersed, but the energy of the confrontation lingered in the air. Monica stood near her patio, glancing at the sheriff's badge framed on the wall, a subtle reminder of her authority and the calm, measured approach that had carried her through the ordeal. Children who had peeked through fences earlier ran past, laughing and pointing at the garden she had tended so carefully. A few neighbors stopped by to offer smiles, handshakes, or quiet words of admiration. The humiliation of the morning had transformed into celebration and respect. Monica reflected on the events. The encounter with Tom Richards had been more than just a clash over rules. It was a test of composure, intelligence, and courage. By staying calm, presenting facts, and revealing her rightful authority at the perfect moment, she had turned what could have been a humiliating experience into a powerful lesson for everyone involved. Her thoughts turned to the broader message. Power and authority are not given by uniforms or titles. They are earned through knowledge, preparation, and respect. That lesson, she realized, extended far beyond HOA disputes. It was about how people navigate life, confront arrogance, and assert dignity even under public scrutiny. Tom Richards, the once overconfident HOA enforcer, had quietly retreated, leaving behind a lesson in humility that would not soon be forgotten. The neighborhood had witnessed a rare and memorable moment of justice. Whispers of Monica's composure and rightful authority spread quickly. Neighbors shared the story at community events. Social media posts circulated quietly, and even other HOA members took note. As the sun set, Monica sat on her patio with a cup of coffee, watching the calm neighborhood she owned. A sense of satisfaction and peace washed over her. She had stood her ground, reclaimed dignity, and shown the power of quiet authority. A gentle breeze rustled the trees, carrying the feeling that the neighborhood itself had shifted, becoming more aware, more respectful, and more appreciative of the lessons learned that day. Monica smiled, knowing that this victory was not just hers, but a testament to courage, knowledge, and the right way to wield power. Her gaze returned to the sheriff's badge, and she whispered softly, "Authority without humility is meaningless, but knowledge, patience, and integrity's will always prevail. The story of the HOA cup, the confrontation, and the unexpected revelation became a legend in the neighborhood. Monica's calm defiance and rightful triumph were remembered not as a single act, but as a guiding example of dignity, justice, and the quiet strength that comes from standing firm in the truth.